All right, hello everybody and welcome back. My name is Braden Anthony here to give you an update on Hurricane Milton, a major Category 5 hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico that is expected to landfall in Florida as a major hurricane about 48 hours out from now. We are expecting landfall in Florida near the Tampa Bay area on the evening of Wednesday, October 9th. So I'm going to be telling you guys what we can expect with this system. So here's the latest cone forecast from the National Hurricane Center. Again, like I said, this is a Category 5 hurricane. The amount of strengthening this thing has done in the last 24 hours since my last video is impressive. We have a very strong hurricane just off the coast of the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico here. It will remain a major hurricane as it tracks up the eastern portion of the Gulf of Mexico. And by Wednesday evening of October 9th, again about 48 hours out from now, we have a major hurricane likely around the Category 4 range that is going to be very close to Tampa Bay, Florida. It is then going to landfall across that region and eventually cross the peninsula and move back out into the central waters of the Atlantic Ocean as we head into Thursday of October 10th. So very dangerous few days ahead for these areas. Again, Category 5 right now, winds are sustained at 175 miles per hour. So we're going to be talking about wind damage, storm surge, tornadoes, and flooding with the system. We're going to go over all of that in today's video. Before we do that, though, I want to show you guys what this storm looks like. This is a zoomed out picture of the Gulf of Mexico. You guys can see Texas on the screen. You guys can see Mexico and Florida. So very, very organized hurricane in the center of the screen here. When I made the video yesterday, again, give or take about 20 hours ago, we had a little bit of an eye wall, not a super impressively organized hurricane. It was right around Category 1, Category 2 at that point. It is now a Category 5. Winds are about 180 miles an hour, and we have a very well-defined eye wall, and this thing is spinning very, very quickly. Again, right off the Yucatan Peninsula there in Mexico, and this thing is going to be tracking closer to Florida as we go throughout the next couple of days. Let's take a look at that. This is the simulated radar. We're starting off with early tomorrow morning of October 8th. This thing is going to be gradually kind of hovering right around the same intensity, if not on this model, maybe intensifying a little bit, as it moves closer and closer to Florida. This is by Wednesday evening of October 10th. Sorry. This thing is going to be very close to Tampa Bay, Florida. And this model here, the GFS model, shows it being a 949 low. Remember, the lower that the barometric pressure drops in a storm, the stronger the low pressure system is. And an incredibly strong low pressure system being indicated by this model here. And as we get into late Wednesday night, getting closer to the early morning hours of Thursday, October 10th, we have landfall on this model just north of the Tampa Bay, Florida area. Exact location of landfall, exact timing and intensity, these things are still all in question, but we're thinking certainly later in the portion of Wednesday into early Thursday, that is when we are going to see it. This thing moves across the Florida Peninsula and eventually moves back out into the Atlantic Ocean. It's going to move off the peninsula, move away from Georgia and South Carolina. Some residual impacts will be felt across those states as well, especially along the coastline in the way of flooding and maybe some strong gusty winds. As we get into Friday, October 11th, this thing is out of our hair. Let's take a look at some of the primary things that are going to be occurring with this system. Number one, flash flooding. Again, this is the GFS model here. This is the rain being depicted from this evening all the way through the end of the hurricane. So look at how these rain totals begin to pile up as we go through Wednesday and head into Thursday. We're going to see many areas here where we're going to have rain well over 4 inches. 4 to 6 inches is likely going to be widespread across northern Florida particularly. And there could be some areas here that are looking at maybe 10 to 15 inches of rain. So urban and small stream flooding is a given, but we're certainly going to see the potential for some locally major flash flooding and some major river flooding as well. And that can be seen here by the excessive rainfall outlook from the Weather Prediction Center for Wednesday of October 9th. We have a moderate risk of excessive rainfall across a good portion of the Florida Peninsula, touching a part of southern Georgia there on their 1 to 4 threat level. That is a 3 out of 4. Widespread flash flooding is looking quite likely. In addition to just rainfall flooding, though, storm surge is going to be another very significant issue. Again, this is a major hurricane. This isn't a tropical storm or a low-end Cat 1 hurricane. This is a big deal. Right around Category 4 is what we're expecting, and right now it's a Category 5. In terms of storm surge here, we're going to see storm surge of up to 12 feet, all the way from Yankeetown, Florida, down through Bonita Beach, Florida here. So this includes, unfortunately, Tampa Bay, including the city of Tampa Bay, right, because it's going to be right along that area, southward through the Naples area, through Englewood, all the way down through Charlotte Harbor. These areas here are going to be seeing anywhere from 5 to 12 feet of storm surge. That's what we're expecting right now. And unfortunately, at this point, it looks like Tampa Bay is kind of right in the heart of it here. So this is certainly something that needs to be monitored very closely. We're going to see light storm surge all the way as far south as the Florida Keys and as far north as getting close to the Big Bend region right there. So, in addition to flooding from storm surge and rainfall, tornadoes are on the table as well. This is the tornado outlook for Wednesday. Again, subject to change a little bit, but we're thinking especially south of landfall, especially central and southern Florida, even including areas like Miami on the eastern part of Florida. There is going to be a rather elevated tornado threat from the Florida Keys all the way up through Fort Lauderdale, Miami, northward getting into central Florida here. We're going to see tornadoes on Wednesday especially. So the last thing I want to do is show you guys the wind gusts. Now this is using a different model here. This is the European model, and this is showing the wind gusts that we're going to have from about Wednesday afternoon, into Friday. So we're not going to be able to take a look at exact values here, but basically, if you're in any of these golds or browns, these are winds of at least 60 miles an hour. So 60 miles an hour or higher is what's considered severe winds. Those are the winds that are going to cause damage. So look at how widespread these golds are. This is for Wednesday afternoon, and then we get into Wednesday evening, into the overnight on Thursday, and look at how widespread these golds are across central and northern Florida. And I gotta say, this is rather conservative too, because this is a very mild model in terms of what the other ones are showing. We'll backtrack it a little bit here. You guys can see these golds just flying across the Florida Peninsula here, across a broad area. So severe damage from wind is certainly going to be a possibility. But this one here was showing not a weak low pressure system by any means making landfall in Florida, but a lot weaker than what we are expecting to actually happen. So in reality, the winds could be a lot stronger and possibly more widespread than what's being shown on this model. So that just goes to show you, we're watching everything. We're watching wind, storm surge flooding, coastal flooding from that. We're expecting very heavy rainfall, tornadoes. Everything is on the table. There are lots of hurricane watches in effect, warnings across the ocean already. So certainly, guys, something that you have to keep an eye on. But guys, that is going to wrap it up for today's update. If you did enjoy it and you want to see more of them, be sure to subscribe to the channel with those post notifications turned on. Also be sure to share this video out to other people that are in the area so we can spread the message to as many people as possible. Make sure that you and them are paying attention to the National Weather Service, the National Hurricane Center, any radio and TV outlets that you have in the area that can be trusted. It's going to be very important that we can keep as many people as safe as possible, because this is going to be a relatively significant storm. So guys, until the next video, stay safe, and I'll talk to you in the next one.